Hi, Joyce Erb with paperfinesse.blogspot.com, presenting a design team project for Dies Are Us. The reason I started doing these videos was to offer crafting tips for people that might have diminished strength. And I also explore a lot of different techniques and products. So let's get right to it. This is the poppy stamp called called Willow, Weeping Willow. And it's a pretty big die. It covers the entire card, and I ran this through my Vagabond using the precision base plate. And I'm showing you here how easy it is to pop everything out. It just falls right through. I used watercolor paper, so it did take 4 passes. With thinner paper, it would only take 2. The sandwich is whatever you normally use for cutting a thin die, but instead of a bottom plate, you put in the precision plate, and it works on all Sizzix machines. It will not work on a Cubblebug. And here I'm just showing you that nothing was left in the die. The first thing we're going to do is be using these Brusho powders, and we're going to color this paper, this tree, with some Brushos. I've got 2 shades of green and a shade of brown, and I'm just tapping some of the powder on my mat and adding some water. The brush I'm using is Silver Velvet, and I like this brush because it holds a good bit of water and it's got a really fine tip. I believe I'm using a size 6 here, but you get that fine tip even with your larger ones. The first thing I'm doing is adding a layer of color. This is just more or less a wash to the tree and to the big trunk, or the big branch, I'm sorry. And what I'm going to do is come back and add some more brown later to give it some more dimension and life. But I'm getting on some color first. I'm getting those tiny little edges. Actually, when I start coloring the leaves, I'm not real concerned about touching any of the brown because the green touches the brown, it just turns to another shade of brown, so no biggie. But with this thin tip, you can be pretty accurate. Here what I'm doing is I'm using the lighter of my greens, and I'm just dabbing it here and there. And then I'll come in with the second green and dab it in other areas. It's not rocket science, you just get the color on. And I use a couple different colors just to give it some dimension. The trunk is partially dry, so I'm going to go back in now with some more brown, and I'm just going to dab on some brown, I call it puddles. I just add some additional paint in there so that it will dry with a little bit more texture. I love watercolor because it doesn't take any strength at all, and it's so forgiving. Like here, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just dabbing on some color here and there just to give it some dimension. And now I'm going to start the background. And I'm tapping on some olive green Brusho powder at the bottom, some lemon yellow, and a darker yellow at the top. So I'm only using the 3 colors this time. And I'll be spraying it with this new bottle that I found from Nuvo. And what I have to do is I hold it against my body and I grasp the handle with both hands to spray. And it's got a really fine mister like the Tim Holtz sprayer does, except that the sprayer handle itself is a lot easier to grasp. And this particular one, you can see the white drops there. It's got some pearlized watercolor added to it that I purchased at Dick Blick. And now I'm just adding some plain water. Plain water does spray finer than the pearlized does. I love how Brusho just spreads out in the water and has this really organic look to it. And you can just leave it like that to dry, or what I'm doing here is putting another piece on top of it to get a second print. And it will need some addition. I'm just sopping up any extra big blobs. A lot of times I like the big blobs, but in this case I'm going for a different look. And what I'm doing is I'm coming back now with some more Brushos to fill in some of the white spaces because I really don't want white spaces. I'm not a real good, clean and simple person. A lot of white space bothers me. I have to get color on it. So I just sprinkled on some more. Now I'm just dabbing it with the paintbrush. I don't want it to totally lose all the little speckles that Brusho adds to the paper. And if the paper is damp, the Brusho will follow and bleed into the wetness, which is kind of cool. If you don't want it to bleed as much, you dab it off like I did here, or you blow dry it. I typically leave my Brusho paintings to dry naturally. I just prefer the look. Now you can get a totally smooth look if you want to just paint this and use the Brusho powder as a paint. Here I place it over my background to see if I like it, and I do. And I chose the one I wanted. And I have a stash of backgrounds that I've made that haven't been used yet, because like with the other one that I just did today, I usually make several. And these will be showing up in other projects. See how it fits the card? Pretty much exactly. It's really a good fit. And this one I made, actually I made this the same day as I did the yellow one, but I thought it was a little too dark for my tree. I'll be doing a video on this one. I actually use a jelly press on this one to make that background. And that's a fun background. But here I'm just showing that just hold on to your extra copies you make and they'll be right for some project. I placed the card in my stamp positioner, and this is watercolor textured side, so it's going to take a few times to get this sentiment on right. I'm using the overlay for my penny black sentiments to see how it's going to look, and then I place it approximately where I want it, remove my die, and try to get it straight. One thing nice about my positioner is that it does have a grid on the lid, so I check it. It's just a tad off, so I'm able to adjust it. And then I will use VersaFine ink to stamp it. This ink has a flip top on it, and I always make a mess. I get paint all over my lid, but it wipes right off, and it doesn't transfer onto my card. So I ink it up good, give it a good bit of pressure, well, the best I can. I actually do use my elbows a lot. And here I'm going to do it a second time. I end up doing this 4 times. I want to go and show you 2 times. And then I just clean everything up. I always clean it up right away. And then just stamp as many times as you need to get a nice, crisp sentiment. And now I'm just going to show you how I'm going to lay it all out. I will glue it off screen because it does take me a little while. So I'm going to position that around it. And I have these die cuts that I just colored a whole bunch of flowers and critters, and actually I have a video on it. It's some Heartfelt Creation dies that I've got. And I just took out my stash box and found something that I thought looked good. I'm going to cut off a couple of the little leaves that are obscuring it. I'll be using the Art Institute Dries Clear Glue to adhere everything. And as a reminder, I used Poppy Stamps Weeping Willow die. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe, and leave me any comments so I know what it is you would like to see. Have a great day.